Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about some things to consider if you are considering launching a certification program. So I think you probably know, if you've listened to the podcast or followed me for any period of time, that I just recently launched 2 certification programs. The first is for Chief Strategy and Operating Officers, what I call CSOO. And the second is for Entrepreneurial Project Managers, what I call EPM. And I'm going to share a little bit about some of the logic behind that in this episode, including the different durations, why I chose those durations. But the main thing that I want to share with you is a framework that can be really helpful to be considering as you're designing and thinking about launching a certification program that really gets at the level of mastery that you are looking for somebody to achieve through the program. Because knowing that, kind of starting with the end in mind with that knowledge, will help you to design it, will help you to figure out how long it should be. It will help you to figure out how to price it. It will help you figure out if you should have any kind of annual renewal fee. And so there's a lot of considerations that go to it. And the simplest way to do it is through this framework, which I'm going to share with you, which I've mentioned on the podcast before, but I want to go into it in a little bit more depth today. So being that we are at the end of the year, getting ready for the new year, and I'm helping a lot of my clients with their planning and thinking ahead, looking at their big vision and their financial targets and how they're going to get there and what they want to change up as they go into the new year, we've been having a lot of conversations about offer suites. And I would say probably about 80% of my clients are all thinking of launching a certification. So I've had this same conversation over and over and over again. So I thought it was a great time to bring it to the podcast, because maybe it's something that either you personally are thinking about doing, or you may be helping your clients with as well. And so one of the very first things that people mention when they think of the certification program to me is it feels really big. It feels kind of overwhelming. And I don't know how I'm going to take everything I know and turn it into something that I could certify other people in so that they could do it the way that I do it. I hear this all the time. Like, it just feels really big. How do I take this and get somebody to be able to do what I do and know what I know and really be able to kind of embody the certification itself? So what I've shared with them to help them simplify how they think about it and simplify the way that they're thinking of building their certification program is a framework called Shuhari that I've mentioned on the podcast in the past. And so if you're not familiar with this framework, which comes up and is used a lot in the lean and agile space, it comes out of martial arts, and it's really all about a path to mastery. And so I'm going to tell you my interpretation of it and how this applies to a certification program. So Shu is really all about learning. This is give me the step-by-step knowledge, the system, the process, the framework. This is about the learning. And when you do a certification program, if you want someone to have and adopt a fundamental set of knowledge, not necessarily skill yet, but knowledge, they know something, they understand something, they can speak the lingo, they get how something works, then that is a certification at more of a Shu level. These tend to be quicker certifications. This could be where you go for a 1-day intensive, you go for a long weekend, you do it over the series of a few weeks. Really, all you're expecting somebody to do at that level is to learn. Now, you hope that they will take that learning and they will go and actually implement on it. They will get results. They will do whatever the intention is that you want them to have with that learning. But the certification process itself is really focused on the learning. Now, the next step is Ha. And Ha's a little bit different. Ha is not only do you learn it, not only do you know it, but you know how to contextually apply it. This is a deeper level of mastery. You're not at mastery yet, but it's a deeper level. And so when you are at a Ha level, you can contextually apply what you have learned in different scenarios. So you know it much better. You become much more skilled at it. This is where the skill comes in above just the knowledge. You're not just routinely following a step-by-step checklist and understanding what something means or what to do. At this point, you're starting to be able to look at and say, you know what? In this particular scenario, based on this problem that she had, here's how I would apply it. In this different scenario that this person has, here's how I would apply it. So it's very much that contextualization, and it's a deeper level of knowing and a deeper level of understanding where you're able to apply it at a different level. Now, for me, this is where I wanted my certifications to be. I didn't just want someone to have knowledge. I wanted someone to have skill. I wanted to have confidence that if I put my brand name behind somebody, which is how I think about that certification, is I'm basically saying this person is someone I trust to go off and use my methods that I've spent more than 20 years developing and perfecting, right? And so it's me saying that I have the trust and confidence in this person to go off and claim that they are a certified kind of almost extension of my brand in a way, is how I think about certifications. I know not everybody thinks of it that way, but to me, it wasn't about the knowledge. Knowledge doesn't get them there. I could give them the knowledge on this podcast. I could give them the knowledge anywhere. What I want them to have is the skill, and I want them to have a depth of skill. I want them to contextually be able to go into almost any situation and understand how to handle it, and understand how to handle it really well and get incredible results for the people that they're working with. And so my certifications are a little bit longer, right? CSOO, I looked at every which way to slice and dice it to get that certification in the shortest time frame possible. And ultimately, I landed on 12 months. And not only is it a 12-month certification, but once you get certified, you get a bonus year of access. So it's really 2 full years that I am with somebody. And I did that really, really intentionally, because if you think about somebody who is your right hand at an executive level, at what would normally be called probably more of a COO. But to me, I add a heavy focus on the strategy because I think that's what's needed in a right-hand leader. So it's a chief strategy and operating officer. These are people who come in with a ton of skills. They're usually either fractional COOs or directors of operations or some kind of leader and advisor at a really high level already, or at least pretty advanced in their knowledge coming in. And so I'm teaching them how to think different. I'm teaching them how to lead different. I'm giving them frameworks and I'm giving them tools and I'm giving them complete kind of turnkey systems that they can use in the businesses that they work with. It's a really incredible program, and I don't think there's much like it at all out on the market. But when I thought about how do I get someone beyond the knowledge and just giving them a framework that they can use and giving them the knowledge and ability to really understand it and to be able to show up as that person that every founder dreams of and thinks is the unicorn that does not exist. Like, how can I turn them into someone who's able to think that way, to be a visionary whisperer, to be able to deliver and scale a business at the level that founders are looking for, that very few people have the skill in? And how do I teach them how to do it simply, which is way harder than teaching somebody how to do it the way most people teach people how to do it. And the minimum amount of time that that would take would be a year. When I really went through it, I tried to slice and dice it every which way to get it shorter. I looked at a 6-month time frame. I looked at a 9-month time frame. And ultimately, I did not feel they could get to a high level if it was under a year for that certification. So that is how I framed it. And when I looked at it also, I eventually want them to get to mastery. And mastery is where Re comes in. So Shuhari, Re is where you know something so well. You know it so inside and out. You're not even looking at the materials anymore. You're not anything. You embody it. It just becomes so innate and so natural for you to be able to, in any situation, you're hit with any question, anything, to just be able to know exactly what to do because you've done it so long. And at that point, you start to almost break the frame in the sense that you're infusing your own ideas into it. You're innovating it a little bit. You're taking and building off of what I've taught somebody to do and saying, amazing, that's great. And I love to work in this particular industry. And in this industry, what I'm finding is if I do it like this instead, it actually gives them even faster results, right? And it's combining the knowledge of what you've learned and what you've been applying and the skill and the experience you've been gaining to true mastery, where you can start to innovate and make improvements on it based on your own unique scenarios and clients that you work with and things that you do. And so RE is ultimately where I'd love to get people to, but RE takes time. And as entrepreneurs, we are super impatient. We naturally want to get to RE and everything. We want to skip Shu and Ha and just immediately get into like, teach me the thing as quick as possible so I could go reimagine it and reinvent it and do it my own way. And in order to really be able to achieve mastery, you have to spend the space in Shu and Ha. You have to learn it. You have to learn it the way that it was intended. Then you have to understand the why behind the what, right? Shu is much more what do I need to do? Whereas Ha is much more why do I need to do that? Why does it work that way? Why is it? And once you understand that why, that's how you're able to contextually support people and approach things in different scenarios, right? And so as entrepreneurs, we frequently want to skip those steps and jump right into RE. And so because of that, when we think about building our certifications, we tend to be thinking about RE. We're thinking about how do I certify someone in mastery? How do I certify someone in RE? And the reality is you can't. RE takes time. RE takes lived experience. It takes doing the cycles over and over and over and over again on things. And that is why I made not only the certification a year, but I give people another year access after they're certified, because they are going to continue to have different scenarios that they run into that they're going to need support with. They need to keep advancing their understanding of the why and their situational awareness and ability to apply things in different situations before they can ever get to RE. So it's 2 years that people actually spend. And even at that point, they might not fully be at RE, although they will be in pockets. And so when you think about what you do and you're thinking, I want to certify someone, if it feels really big, if it feels really overwhelming, if it feels really like, I don't know how on earth I would possibly do this, you're probably thinking of RE. And so scale it back. Start with Shu. What would I need to teach somebody just to give them the knowledge? What do they need to know? What are the steps they'd need to follow? If I were to give someone almost like a blueprint on how to do this thing, what would it look like? Don't think about all the different scenarios and situations and all of that. Just think about like, what is the framework? What is the thing that they need to know? Then get into Ha. And when you get into Ha, start to think about, all right, how can I help them understand the why behind that framework? How can I help them understand enough about why it works the way that it works, that they are able to adapt it to the different situations and things that they experience with their clients or whoever it is that they work with and they're applying it with? And that is typically the 2 levels that you are going to take people to in a certification. So if you're like, knowledge is cool, I just want to give people my frameworks, it's great. They can kind of take it and do what they want with it, pretty straightforward. Cool. You can do a much shorter certification. Usually if it's a much shorter certification, the pricing is lower and you do not have any kind of annual renewal fee or anything. Somebody's coming in, they're learning knowledge, and they're going away and hopefully applying that. Now, when that happens, sometimes you'll have another tier of certification. That might be almost like a 101 level. And then you might have a 201 or more advanced level that somebody could come back to for the Ha. And so if you know you want that model, you could start with the Shu pretty quickly. And just you could build the Ha over time because you are building up a warm audience for that next level certification through the people that you certify at more of that 101 level. So that's one model. That's one frame that you can go through. Now, if you do that, if you are, you know what, I just kind of want to stay at the Shu level. I really just kind of want to teach people this framework. Pretty simple. Keep it quick. Great. Think about how and what you do to give somebody a place to go to get ongoing support and to give yourself recurring revenue in your business. Frequently, some kind of community aspect or group Q&A call that they would get access to over time will end up being really good for you. It gives them a space and feels high value. So they could come in and ask some of those questions of like, this just happened and I have no idea how to handle it. And it gives you the recurring revenue. So it feels more valuable to them. And it brings in money for you that becomes much more stable in the business instead of just always having to sell these one-off things. Now, if you're going to Ha and you want people to actually not just understand the knowledge about things, but build the skill and the understanding beyond just what to do, and they understand why, and they can go and apply it in different scenarios. If that's the case, then you're typically going to structure things a little bit longer, and you're going to need space for both learning and space for applying. And so part of my certifications, both of them, both the CSOO and the EPM, is there's capstone projects. So part of me ensuring that they are getting some of that real world experience and understanding is not just extending the time on things for them to learn more over a longer period of time. It's creating the space in the container and the structure for them to go off and implement. So they do not get certified unless they actually go and implement what they learn in a minimum of one business. Minimum of one. I recommend two, one being their own business for those who are business owners, and one being at least one other business. Now, if a founder is sending their team through the certification, which people do, then really they're sending them through for that person to implement it within their business. But a minimum of one business, they have to take this and implement it. And we have Q&A sessions and we go through it, but there's capstone projects. And so my EPM certification is different. Really, I could teach someone the shoe level of EPM within a month. That on its own, if I just wanted someone to have knowledge, it would be probably a 4-week certification, or I might do it over 2 days or something. But I don't want someone to just have knowledge. I want someone to have practical real world experience being able to do it. And so if you think about the complexity that goes into project management in a small business, where you've got usually team members located all over the world, you've got a little bit of this person, a full-time over here, another person in another country and time zone over there. You've got multiple people kind of spread out all over the place with different focuses. You've got a ton of competing ideas and demands for time. There's usually less resources than there are the ideas and things that the business wants to do or even needs to do to be able to deliver on what they've sold to their clients. There's balancing delivering what's been sold with continuing to market and sell so that you're constantly bringing new people in. There's so many complexities in a small business environment that are different from what people experience in a large business. And there's not many certifications that address that complexity and help people be really successful working with small businesses, especially somebody who not only is managing internal projects within a company, but who's then managing client projects on top of it, right? The complexities just kind of tend to stack up. And so again, I could teach somebody what to do in a period of 2 days or a month, but I'm not really setting them up for success. If I do that, they need to go and apply it. So EPM is a 4-month certification, and we spend time upfront teaching. But then what people do is they actually implement a full 90-day planning cycle in a business. So it's taking what they learn and actually doing from start to finish the goals that they worked with the founder to set in the business to set. They're actually going through and making sure that they have achieved those goals in the business. So they are applying what they are learning, and they are coming in with questions every single week. They have the opportunity to get support throughout that 90 days. And we incrementally build off of what they learn, teaching them, for example, how to do a retrospective. How do you do a review after the first 30 days and then at the end of the 90 days? And so it's meant to be applied and to actually build that depth of experience. And it's a capstone project again, that yes, everyone takes knowledge exams to ensure that they understand the content and what needs to be done. But really, in order to get certified, they have to show that they understand the why and the practical application of doing it. It is a high-level certification, and I structure it as such. Because these are high-level certifications, I also have an annual renewal fee. I also let people license my content. So because I let people license my content, that is a big contributor to the reason why I have an annual renewal fee. But even with a certification at the high level, you frequently want some kind of renewal cycle. It could be every year. It could be every 3 years. It could be longer. Like I know I got my project management certification, my PMP back in 2002, ages and ages and ages ago. I got my program management certification, my PGMP back in 2005. And I've maintained those for, well over 20 years now. And the renewal cycle on those is every 3 years. Whereas when I got my SPC, which is a SAFe certification, which is about scaling and agile, when I got that certification, that one has a 1-year annual renewal cycle. And that one has much more depth and much more high level. Whereas the PMP does have a high level to it, but it's not quite the same. And so again, it's pretty standard in the industry if you get certifications that there is a renewal if it is a certification that is beyond knowledge, especially if you are positioning yourself or selling services or delivering services. And in doing so, you represent yourself as being an expert at something or being skilled at something with that certification. And so consider that too, as far as the annual renewal and what that looks like, or what renewal cycle feels right to you. And if you license your frameworks to anyone, make sure that there is a renewal cycle. You want to have the ability to change those and to up-level those, and to have people use the newer models so they're not using something that you've changed or you've retired, and to have the ability to have more influence on how things are used, which you kind of lose if somebody gets certified one and done and they're kind of forgotten. There's a lot that goes into that, which would be probably a whole other episode. But as you are thinking ahead to building a certification program, again, think about the levels, Shuhari. You're not certifying people for free. You might create an ongoing community or ongoing access for people to get to RE. Highly, highly recommend that. That would be super valuable. So I hope this breakdown was really helpful in thinking through how you'd like to build a certification program in your business. Again, think about the level you want to take people to. Should really be Shu or Ha, and structure the duration of the certification, the type of knowledge, the level of support, whether or not there's renewal, and the expectations for achieving certification accordingly. You can head over to my website, strategicopsinstitute.com, and check out my CSOO and EPM certification and licensing for some examples and to see how I've structured those. And with the context of this episode, again, the why behind the what, you'll see the what on my website, but listening to this episode and then going and looking at those pages might help you with some of the why behind why I did what I did and why I structured things the way that I did. But I know as I've been working with my clients, getting them ready for the new year, this framework has been very helpful in them thinking through what level they want to take things to, and has given them a big sense of relief that it could be a lot simpler than they were thinking. And they could get their certification out a lot quicker than they were thinking. Now, if you yourself are interested in getting certified or sending your team members, especially your right hand, through certification, again, you'll find all of the details over at strategicopsinstitute.com. I would love to have you apply or have your team members apply, and we'll hop on the phone, chat about if it's a great fit, and get you into our next cycles. We've got everything kicking off in January for the next round. So now is the time to get applications in. And if you are looking for a community to come together where you get to be with me, you get to be with my team, and you get to be with other people who are going through the certifications, as well as simply leaders and advisors who are trying to look at how they can best support their clients to scale in simple, sustainable ways and to up-level how they lead and to be more strategic thinkers, that is my soul collective. You can find more about that at strategicopsinstitute.com/collective. And I wanted to make sure I mentioned that in this episode because right now we have a special going on for founding members. We are kicking that off really soon, and you can join for some pretty incredible pricing right now that will not be in place going into the new year. So invite you to go check that out, and I will see you again next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. If you have not yet taken our scalability assessment, I invite you to head to leanoutmethod.com/assessment and take our interactive assessment that's going to help you look at how simple, how sustainable, and how scalable your business currently is. It includes personalized recommendations of where to focus next to get your time back, to increase your impact, increase your profits, and ultimately step into your rich, fulfilled life. And finally, we'd love to see you inside our signature program, Simplify to Scale. You can head to leanoutmethod.com/ops to find all of the details on how we can help you up-level your operations and get out of the day-to-day of your business.